Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Emi, and on today's video, I'm going to show you how to play Core Pistol Thief, which averages over 23,000 damage per second with just one button press. My last video on Core Hammer Guard had a great reception because of the zero intensity playstyle, and I had a lot of people say that it helped them when they suffer from things like arthritis, RSI, or just eating dinner while playing Guild Wars 2. So here's another build that I think you might be interested in. Like in the last video, before I get into the details, I want to add a few disclaimers. This is by no means a meta build, and I myself am not an expert on Thief. That being said, I've done my due diligence by reaching out to folks in reputable speedrunning and theorycraft communities. The great side of this build compared to the last is that it is completely ranged, so that means that you have much better DPS uptime even when the target is moving around. I've also included both the core version and the Deadeye Elite version. The primary difference is that the core version does not need any button pressing at all, whereas the Deadeye version will need one button press every 20 seconds or so and will be about 5% extra damage. As always, I want to point out that unironically, these are excellent builds for people that want a low-intensity playstyle for open world and beginner instance content, such as the easy strike missions, normal raid encounters, and lower tier fractals. Do keep in mind that for many challenge mode encounters, more outgoing player damage typically means less risk of wiping, and many groups tackling the high-end PvE encounters might ask for a more meta build from their players. Alright, Eagle shenanigans done, let's get into the memes. Let's start by talking about why this build works. When using your Pistol 3 called Unload, it costs 3 Initiative, which are these diamonds above your weapon skills. Initiative gradually regens over time, but with Unload, you get 2 Initiative back when all hits land. This, combined with the cast animation, means that you have enough time to regenerate the last initiative, and you end up with a net loss of 0. That means you can use it permanently. To do this easily, I recommend to auto-cast the skill. This is a universal Guild Wars 2 mechanic, and it's good to know. If you hold down Control on your keyboard while right-clicking a skill, the game will set it to auto-cast. Not all skills can be auto-casted, but you'll know the skill is valid if there are 2 rotating arrows around the skill icon. By default, it is typically your auto-attack that is auto-casted, but other weapon skills, some utility skills, and even pets can be set too. By setting Unload to autocast, it will immediately trigger and re-trigger if you have a target. This means you can take your hands completely off the keyboard and the skill will loop over and over again without any more inputs. Now let's talk about the gear and traits. You'll want to run full Berserker's armor, weapons, and trinkets. For min-maxing, you can change the backpack, amulet, and both rings to dragons. You'll also want to run 6 Rune of the Dragon Hunter, but these can be quite expensive, especially for newer players. So a budget option is Rune of the Eagle, which is significantly cheaper at only 15 silver apiece. This results in about a 4 to 5% DPS loss. Next, we have Sigils of Force and Impact and Relic of the Thief. For a tankier option, at the cost of about 5% damage, you can take Relic of Zakyaros, which will heal you on critical strike. For the traits, let's start with the core version. Nothing too fancy here, we're just taking things that give a lot of direct damage and important stats like precision and ferocity. I also want to call out a few traits with interesting interactions. Exposed Weakness will increase the amount of damage you do per condition on the target. When playing solo, you might not get that much value out of this, but in group events like metas or instance PvE, the boss will almost always have at least 6 or 7 unique conditions. Deadly Aim makes all of your pistol shots pierce. This means you can line up multiple enemies and target the farthest one to get a ton of cleave. Finally, an alternative to take is Invigorating Precision instead of No Quarter. I recommend the damage option since it gives a ton of ferocity, but Invigorating Precision will heal you on critical strike. This can be a great option in open world to keep yourself healthy when you don't have a healer, and if you don't have the option of Relic of Zakyaros. On my last video for Core Guard, I had a lot of questions if there was a version with the Elite specialization, so I imagine I'll get that question for this video too. The good news is yes, the Deadeye version actually does even more damage by about 5%, but the drawback is that instead of being completely AFK, you need to press one button every 20 seconds. Here are the traits. It's basically all the same, the only difference is that you change the Trickery trait line for Deadeye. The playstyle difference is that your steel turns into a mark skill, and targets that are marked will take more damage. This means that anytime you change targets or whenever the mark wears off, you'll need to reapply it using your F1. From some very basic golem room testing using a standard benchmark setup with full boons, food and utility, and a golem with 25 stacks of vulnerability, core unload averages around 23k DPS with only a single condition on the target, and 28k DPS with all conditions on the target. On the other hand, Deadeye unload averages about 24k DPS with only vulnerability, and 30k DPS with all conditions. I personally like to run the core version because I find it really funny to join into groups and wow people with the amount of damage a core class can do. But it's totally up to you since both options will work just fine. Now let's talk about utility skills and potential swaps. I recommend to always bring Assassin Signet because it provides a lot of passive power, and for the core version, you'll want to keep Agility Signet since it helps you reach 100% critical strike chance. Technically, you don't need it with the Deadeye version since the last column trait provides enough precision. The last utility skill is completely up to you. I like to bring Haste for personal boon generation, which feels amazing for running around an open world. Some other options include Shadow Step, which is a long-range blink, Prepare Pitfall, which is great for CC, Prepare Shadow Portal, which can be used to do portal shenanigans, and Basilisk Venom, which is enormous group CC. If you wanted to change out your elite skill, you can bring Thieves Guild, which is a good amount of bonus damage. Yep, that's pretty much it. Just set unload to autocast, sit back, and watch the numbers go up. See if you can keep the number climbing. I've hit 3 million plus in raid fights before. If you would like to support the channel, please consider liking, subscribing, or commenting to tell me what you think. I am also an ArenaNet partner, and I stream quite regularly on Twitch, so if you have any questions that you'd like answered, feel free to swing by and say hi. Thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. I'll see you in the next video.